What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Haunted Beard. Thank you for joining me. So I decided I wanted to do another tier list. I've been in the tier list mood, and I figured since VHS 85 just dropped not too long ago, and I did my review and ranking, I have a video out on that on my channel. I've also reviewed this entire franchise and have done a ranking. But I figured I should update it since we have a new movie, and instead of just doing like a straight out ranking, I decided to do it in a tier list. So, without further ado, here is the VHS movies, all 26 segments from all 6 movies now. I'm not including like the frame narratives just because those are a little difficult to rank. They're not exactly like full stories, so I excluded those. So here we go, all 26 segments from VHS all the way through VHS 85. Let's do it. All right, so as you can see, I've got 5 tiers here. We've got the very top, preserve at all costs, rewind and play again, 50-50, but I would still recommend even in that mid tier. And then we've got watch on fast forward, and finally burn the tape. And I've got all of these in here, and all 26 segments, starting with the very first. They're all in order from through all the movies. So also, I made this myself. I'll put a link down in the description if you wanted to do your own tier list video with the VHS movies. And the first one here is Amateur Night, and this one is going up in rewind and play again. I know that's a lot of people's one of their very favorites. I really like it. I think it's quite good. The ending's obviously great. I think what's her name? Hannah Fierman is the girl who plays the siren character, I think is what she's called, or a succubus or something like that. But yeah, just a great creature design. I think her performance in it, and I've said this in like all my reviews and rankings through all these, I think her performance in it might be the best out of all of them still. I think she's just great. She does like so much with so little, just her eye movements, just a really subtle performance, but just really good. She really stands out. And this one is, you know, kind of straightforward, at least for the most part, and really it all kind of comes down to the ending, but it's definitely a surprise. It gets bloody. It's just a whole lot of fun, and it's fun to watch her do work on all these terrible dudes. So yeah, that one's going in rewind play again. Next up is Second Honeymoon, and this for me is, I'm going to go in preserve at all costs. I really love this one. I'm probably higher on it than the majority of people, but I think it's pretty great. I like kind of how kind of uneventful it really is throughout most of it, and I think the ending is fantastic. This one, it really feels like a found footage. Like it just feels so authentic. It's just this couple on their honeymoon, and they're just filming a bunch of random stuff. And so it's kind of uneventful. It's kind of just, you know, doing whatever for most of it. And then at the very end, man, I still think that this might be the most like just dark and disturbing ending, just because of like how real it feels. Like they feel like a real couple, feels like it's real found footage, and then all of a sudden it just gets dark. And I really like it. It's very memorable. All right, next up we got Tuesday the 17th, and this one for me, I'm going to put on watch on fast forward. Not really a huge fan of this one. Obviously a play on Friday the 13th, and you know, it's just kind of cheesy and just not great. It's got cast of characters out in the woods, and they do this, they bring in this killer, and it has this like digital glitchy effect, which I don't know, I just didn't really find all that great, and I didn't think the kills were all that good. The characters are just kind of dumb and pointless, which I guess that's sort of the point, that they're just, you know, cannon fodder kind of thing. They're just there to be killed, but I don't know. I don't really get much out of that one. So next up we have 10/31/98, and this one for me is going to go in the 50-50 still recommend. And I like this one well enough. I think this one deserves some points for kind of the most creative means to get us the found footage, as it's Halloween night in 1998, and the main guy is wearing this like teddy bear costume, and he mounts the camera in the teddy bear head, which is kind of cool. Just it's a pretty standard kind of haunted house sort of thing. Some of the CGI isn't great, and things get a little creepy, a little weird. The ending is pretty good. It's just overall, I like it, but it's just kind of mid-tier stuff for me. So that is that. The next one is going to be the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger. This one I'm going to go up and rewind and play again. And as I'm putting these in the tiers, I'm actually going to rank them. So I like Amateur Night a little bit more than the sick thing. But this one I like. I like the presentation of it, the laptop computer screen. This girl's just talking to her boyfriend. This one's got, I think, some pretty good scares in it, some jump scares. I like the overall story. I think it's creepy. I like the presentation of it, and I really like the ending as well. I think it's another kind of dark and twisted one. So it works pretty good. I like the sick thing that happened to Emily. Next one is, let's see. Oh, now we're moving on. This is VHS 2. So the first segment of VHS 2 is Phase 1 clinical trials, and this one for me is just not good. Just burn it. Burn the tape. I don't like this one really at all. One of my least favorites, obviously. And this one is about a guy who gets this artificial, like, robotic implant in his eye, and he starts seeing ghosts. And this one has a lot of just really terrible jump scares. And one of the things that I hate usually in found footage is when you add all this artificial sound and noise into it, because if it's found footage, it's not going to have all this post-production stuff to it. And obviously sometimes you can get away with that and it can be effective, but this one, all these jump scares, because he starts seeing ghosts in his house, and the ghosts aren't scary, they don't really look that great, and every time he turns around and sees a ghost, you just get this blast of music, and it just takes you completely out of it, because it's like, oh yeah, somebody edited this thing. It just doesn't feel like found footage. And so it just doesn't work for me. So, not a fan. Next one is Slumber Party Alien Abduction. And this one for me is, I'm going to go in the mid-tier 50-50, still recommend. I'm going to put it actually in front of 103198. This one is pretty good. I think the moment where the aliens actually show up is a jump scare that is so intense and over the top and crazy that it's actually pretty good. It is just this blast of sound, but it makes sense because it's actually like the aliens in their spaceship and everything. But it's so stinking loud, and all of a sudden they're just there kidnapping and taking these kids. And it's pretty good. For that moment alone, it kind of is worth watching. The rest of it is okay. I guess I'll give it a little points too about sort of an inventive use with the camera. The found footage is they strap this, like, I don't know if it's technically a GoPro, but basically they strap a camera to their dog's collar, which is kind of cool, but it's kind of annoying because like the lower third of the frame is covered up in dog hair the whole time, and so it's alright. Some of the dialogue with the kids is just really bad, but that one moment kind of, it makes it worth watching. So yeah. So next up is A Ride in the Park, and this one for me is going to go in rewind and play again. I'm actually going to put this one in front of those other two. I quite enjoy A Ride in the Park. This one's close to the Preserve at All Costs. Just good old-fashioned gory zombie fun. This guy straps a GoPro to his helmet, is biking through trails in the woods, and there's a zombie outbreak. This one's just got some gnarly zombie blood, guts, and gore. I love that they have a little scene in there where these zombies invade this little kid, this kid's birthday party, which is just great. The ending's pretty fantastic too. It's got this really cool practical effect with this guy gets hit by a car, and it's just it takes kind of an old tried and true thing with sort of a a standard kind of zombie thing, but I think it does it just really well and effectively. It's just a lot of fun. Next up is Safe Haven, and this for me is going in preserve at all costs. And I can honestly say this is still my favorite one, as it seems to be most people's favorite one. It's so fantastic. This thing is just such a crazy, intense ride. I like the performance by the lead guy. The lead cult leader is really memorable, pretty great. Got just some great found footage, extended take sequences in it, and this thing is just this slow burn, and they just crank the dials to 11. And by the end of it, it is just white knuckle craziness. And the final image is awesome. Love Safe Haven. Still my favorite segment out of all 6 movies. All right, next up, we move into the dreaded VHS viral. Thankfully, there's only 3 segments in this. And Dante the Great, for me, is going right in Burn the Tape. In fact, I'll actually put this one ahead of Phase 1 Clinical Trial, just because I think the concept is a little bit better. But this one could have been significantly better, but they just blatantly throw out the found footage rules in this. There's a whole sequence at the end where you're like, who's filming this? We have no idea. Like, where's the footage coming from? Who's filming this? How did it get there? This one's just about a magician who gets this cloak or cape that makes his magical powers real, and of course he uses it for dark and evil things. And it's kind of a cool concept, but they just don't really do all that much with it, and I just don't like it because they just blatantly disregard the found footage rules, and it's just kind of forgettable. So, next up is Parallel Monsters, and this one is going in Watch on Fast Forward. This one is just a bump up from the bottom tier just because I like the sci-fi element. I like kind of the parallel universe sort of thing. It has a pretty cool concept. It's got some decent kind of, I don't know, body gore type stuff, creature-ish type stuff in it, but they take a really cool concept and don't really do a whole lot with it. And so in the end, it's really not that memorable. All right, next up we have Bone Storm. And this one is going right in the bottom of the barrel. This one still is probably my least favorite out of the entire thing. Yeah, it's just really bad. It sucks too because this one was done by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who are some of my favorite horror directors, but man, this one's just a total misfire. Got these like skateboarders who go to I think it's like the Arizona-Mexico border, something like that, and they get attacked by these skeleton-like demon monsters or something, but the editing in this is a complete nightmare. It's all over the place. The shaky cam is totally out of control. The acting by the kids, well, they're teenagers, but is not good. The dialogue is horrendous and just really bad. There's just nothing about this that I liked. It's all around just pretty terrible. And I hate to say it because I do love the director so much, but this one is just terrible. So burn it. Burn the tape. All right. That is VHS Viral. Obviously, next we got VHS 94, and the first one there is Storm Drain. Storm Drain for me is going all the way at the very top, just behind Safe Haven. Hellratma. What can I say? I love Storm Drain. I think it's fantastic. I love the lore, kind of the story. It starts off as this sort of investigative journalist. It's a news report about this rat man creature that is this sort of, mythical legend of the town that they live in. and so kind of sets up an intriguing story. But then you get just some really nice found footage sequences, some creepy sequences as they go into the storm drain. These long extended takes going into this dark tunnel, and you're not really sure, and it has just some nice kind of prolonged creepy scenes, which I like. And then the ending is fantastic. The creature looks awesome. I think the creature effects in it's great. You get some gnarly blood and gore in the end. And then this one too, they edit in like this little infomercial type thing, which just kind of adds this sort of weird, bizarre component to it, which is kind of cool. And then you get the very end where the woman's back in the news station, and it just gets crazy. But yeah, this one's just a blast. It's got just a lot of different cool elements and components to it that is just a lot of fun. So I dig it. Next up is Empty Wake, and this one also too is going in the preserve at all costs. I'm gonna put it right behind Storm Drain. I really like this one, obviously, and this is about this young girl. She is tasked with staying at a funeral home for a wake overnight, and the power goes out. And this one just takes a very simple concept and idea, but executes it like almost perfectly. I think it's just really great. I like it's all really in one setting. I like just that it just cuts back and forth between a couple different wide static shots, which really adds to the like an authentic feel to it, and it just really makes good use of the found footage. So I like that. It's just kind of a classic sort of setup with it's a dark and stormy night and the power goes out and the body in the casket might not be dead. And it's just creepy. It's got good atmosphere. It's just simple, but it's executed really, really well. And I think it's pretty great. All right, next up is The Subject. And The Subject for me is going in Rewind Play Again. But it's going at the top there so far, at least. This one, what I think keeps this one from getting into the preserve at all costs for me is some of the effects don't look great and others do. And so it's kind of a hit or miss. The production design in this one, this is done by the same guy who did Safe Haven. The production value and design in this one is pretty solid. You get this crazy scientist who's doing experiments with people and trying to combine man and machine. This one's got just some nice kind of extended take scenes, first person POV. You get like a first person shooter POV sequence where he's going through just shooting a bunch of people. And so this one it kind of combines some body horror with like an action thriller. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, some of the effects kind of take me out of it a little bit, which is why it's not quite in the top tier, but I still enjoy The Subject quite a bit. All right, next up we got Terror. And Terror for me is going to go in Rewind Play Again, right behind Amateur Night. So overall, considering all the movies as a whole, VHS 94 is still my favorite. I think it's the most consistent. All four of them are in those top two tiers. So, yeah, VHS 94 is still the high point for me. Terror is quite a bit of fun. And you got these crazy, I don't know if they're white supremacists, but some sort of like radicalized extremist group who's trying to bomb a government building. And they got hold of a vampire. And this one is pretty wild. This one too, there's something about it, and it's hard for me to exactly pinpoint, but there's something about this one that it just feels so real. Like it really feels like this is a found footage of these crazy people who are really planning on bombing a government building and have really gotten a hold of a vampire. I don't know. There's just something about it that this one it feels so real to me. Yeah, it's pretty solid. It's got some nice, vampire effects in it, blood and gore, good stuff. Yeah, it's fun. It's just not quite at the level. I really like it. I just don't quite love it as much as some of those at the very top. But I don't really have too much negative to say about it. All right, next up, we now move into VHS 99, and up next is shredding. And shredding for me is going to go down and burn the tape. I'm going to put it just a touch above Bone Storm. This one to me, I just didn't really get much out of. I'm even struggling to remember what this one's about. It's like these group of kids, teenagers who are in a band, and they hear the story about some band that they really liked who all were like killed in this building or something like that, and so they go investigate the building, and I think this band like comes back to life and stuff, and it's just not good. The performances are not really good. There's a handful of these throughout really all the movies here and there where you get like the main characters are these like teenage kids, and just the acting and the dialogue is just not very good. And once you get to the horror element in this, it's just not really creepy or scary. It's just kind of a mess and not really all that memorable. So yeah. Next up is Suicide Bid, and I'm going to put Suicide Bid in Rewind Play Again. We're going to stick it right in between Amateur Night and Terror. Yeah, I have quite a bit of fun with this one. You got this college girl who's trying to get into this sorority, and she has to go through this hazing ritual where they actually bury her in this casket, and things get crazy. And yeah, I like kind of the confined, isolated location. You get sort of that claustrophobic feel, and you just get some pretty genuinely scary, freaky moments. And this one is just, it's just a fun ride. I just dug it. I think the scares and the horror element are pretty effective, and it's a fun one. I enjoy it. Next up is Ozzy's Dungeon. And this one, for me, is also going to go in Rewind Play Again. Where do I want to put it? It's kind of right along with Suicide Bid. It could go either or, so let's put it right in front of it. I like this one because it starts off with this game show, and I feel like I'm a kid again watching Nickelodeon or something like that, so you get kind of a nostalgic element to it. And then this one just takes a left turn that gets bizarre, and then it takes another left turn at the end that gets just completely crazy. It's got some pretty cool practical creature effects in the end. I just kind of liked how original and unique and just weirdly bizarre and different this one is. It definitely is memorable, and it sticks out as something pretty unique. And so yeah, it's a fun one. Next up, let's see, that is not right. It's not Empty Wake, it's the Gawkers. Let me import the right file here. Gawkers for me is let's see, I'm gonna put it right there on Watch on Fast Forward. This is another one. You got this kind of younger group of kids, just some really overly crude, cringy dialogue, and they're spying on their neighbor who they all think is really hot, and she turns out to be something scary. And I don't know, it's just not very good. The performances and the dialogue suck, and I found it to be kind of predictable. Like, you obviously know that the neighbor is going to be something, right? The the ending, when you finally get some of the horror elements, kills are meh. CGI is not very good either. It's just not that great. Next up is To Hell and Back. This is the final one on VHS 99. To Hell and Back for me, I'm going to put in the 50-50 still would recommend. This one is like a legit 50-50. This one's by the guy who did the Deadstream found footage movie on Shudder from last year. I can't think of the guy's name, but he did this as well. And I had the same issue with this that I had with Deadstream, is that I think the guy he's a good director, but I don't jive with his humor. And so it's just kind of a 50-50. They're doing this like seance type thing in the beginning, and he's literally transported to hell. So this one has some really cool visuals and just production value. The design of hell is like really cool. He's going around like fighting and killing demons and stuff. And so the production value of this one is probably one of the very best looking. And so it's got just some cool visuals, cool atmosphere and stuff like that, but he's like down in hell fighting demons, cracking jokes, and it's just like, all right, man, come on. So yeah, I just don't jive with his humor. It's just a bummer. And so this one is like half of it is really solid, the other half just kind of kills it. But I would still recommend. So I'm going to put it there. All right, next up, we are now moving into VHS 85, and we got Total Copy. And I'm going to put Total Copy in the mid tier, but at the very top. I like this one. I still think it's pretty good. I think I kind of reiterate some of what I said in my review ranking for it, but I like the look of the alien. It's a really weird, interesting looking creature. I don't know how they achieved it. It might be CG, it might be practical. I'm very intrigued as to how they created that alien. I think this one, I guess, is technically the frame narrative, but I felt that there was enough story here to include it. So, yeah, it has this sort of sci-fi element, as there's these group scientists who are looking at this alien life form and they're trying to study it and understand it. And then I said in my review that this one I think would have benefited for having like a longer time to kind of flesh out some of the ideas there. And ultimately, it just kind of serves as a means to, the alien turns hostile and starts killing people. So, yeah, there's some fun to be had. You kind of enjoy seeing some of the people get their comeuppance in the end, and but yeah, overall it's pretty good. It's just nothing great. No Wake and Ambrosia is gonna go. I'm gonna put this one in. Do I put it at the top of Rewind Play Again or at the... You know what? No. I'm going to put this one. I'm going to put it right up there. Yeah. No Wake Ambrosia. I love what this one did with the structure. It does something brand new that we've never seen before. I won't give it away. But this one is just cool. Starts off with these friends. They're going camping. And I just love the sudden left turn it takes. The horror element clicks into gear, and you just feel it. It's like intense, just some gnarly, bloody effects that are really effective. And then the way they kind of bring it all together it's just a lot of fun. Like this one too, it left me. I think I said this in my review, but it left me wanting more. I feel like there could be more to kind of expand in this sort of universe, in this story. There could be more stories to tell, but yeah, that one's pretty solid. I quite enjoyed it. God of Death for me. God of Death. I'm gonna put that one in. I'm gonna put this one in. Watch on fast forward. Let's see. Yeah, we'll put it right there. It's all right. It's another one of those. I know a lot of them are kind of, you kind of just lead up to waiting for the horror element to click in, and a lot of them it clicks in at the very end, sort of thing. And this is another example of that, where you're just kind of waiting for something horrific to happen. Obviously, it starts off with the earthquake, but yeah, it's nothing we haven't really seen before. It doesn't really do anything too crazy inventive. I'll give it some credit because I like the sort of the Mexican Aztec cultural stuff they bring into it, which is kind of cool, but ultimately in the end it's just kind of standard, straightforward sort of stuff. There's definitely a few moments in there where I was like, this dude would not still be filming this. So that kind of took me out of it a little bit too. Next up is Techno God. And let's see. This one for me, I'm going to put right down in Burn the Tape. I just didn't really like this. I appreciate the attempt at doing something different, but it's just not very effective. It's about this woman doing this performance art, talking about how technology has become the new god and has taken over our life, and it's just not very scary, creepy. There's not really any good atmosphere. Um, you get to the end of it, and it's just very underwhelming. Um, yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say about it. And finally, we have Dream Kill, and Dream Kill is gonna go. I haven't thought about where I was gonna put this until this very moment, because Dream Kill was my favorite one from VHS 85, and I'm gonna put Dream Kill. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go right there. So yeah, technically that's gonna be my third favorite in the entire franchise. I really loved it. I know I may be coming across as a bit hypocritical because technically this one does play a little loose with the found footage rules, so I totally acknowledge that. But man, it was so good that I kind of just forgave it. Um, I thought the three sequences, the I guess dream sequences of the murders are, I thought they were pretty fantastic, very disturbing, very well done. Just really liked it. I thought just the story was really well told. It felt like it just it felt like a full film story kind of. And I know it kind of plays loose with the rules, and so maybe it's a bit hypocritical, but I just really liked it. You get a gnarly ending. I think Freddy Rodriguez's character, he does a pretty good job with it, and yeah, I just really dug Dreamkill. I thought it was really solid. So yeah, that is my list. So technically that's my ranking too, with Safe Haven number 1 going all the way down, Bone Storm at number 26. So there's my tier list / ranking of all 6 now VHS movies. Hit me up down below. Let me know your ranking, or let me know what you think of mine, where you think I'm crazy and out of my mind, and where you would rank it. Would love to hear from you. That's all I got for you, though, everybody. Thank you once again for watching. And like always, it's all horror and thriller movie content on my channel. So do not hit that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.